Hello and welcome back once again, viewers. In this little video today, I will be telling you what some of my favorite fantasy fiction tropes are. So let's get into it. I love these tropes. Okay, first of all, inspired by history. That's probably the most common. I would say the majority of fantasy is inspired by history, and I enjoy that. And not just the medieval European ones, but all eras. Next one is supernatural beast. Who doesn't love a supernatural beast? Dragons, griffins, krakens. Dragon fighting a kraken's pretty badass, and unicorns. Love them all. Which brings us to prehistoric beast. You know, Song of Ice and Fire does this a little bit with the dire wolves and the mammoths, etc. However, I would argue Skyrim does even more of it. As you wander around, there's a lot of saber-toothed cats and mammoths and whatnot in the tundra of Skyrim. Uh, Damsel in distress. That one's a powerful motivator for a man, and it's a good way to get a plot rolling, so to speak, and get an adventure started. Which brings me to another one. One's a little wow. Bikini armor. Yes, bikini armor. I love the Red Sonja comics, and I love a warrior woman in bikini armor, kind of chainmail bikini, and to me, or a scale armor bikini, and I'll tell you how I justify that. Sorry, there was just a car that went past. You can justify that, in my opinion, with runes and protection spells on the armor. That's a good one. Uh, which brings us to certain character archetypes I like, and I've got a sub list of archetypes I've thoroughly enjoyed. The exiled heir. What's better than an heir who's been reduced to obscurity and vanished, trying to reclaim their kingdom and restore their dynasty? The morally grey, barbarian, Conan or Thaford. I love this. This is a force of nature, a barbarian who's wandered out of the wilderness into civilized lands and stands out like a sore thumb, but brings their energy to civilization. And the hot and sexy villainous archetype. I love this one. I love a villainess who's a beautiful woman who can kill you. I love that. Really do. Evil nobles, the corrupt, wicked lords and kings. I love this one as well. This can be a great enemy to try and bring down. Which brings us to the next trope, a self-indulgent and decadent villain. You know, your Jabba the Hutts, your Baron Harkonnens, these archetypical symbols of self-indulgence to get bloated and fat, have these decadent, opulent palaces, and but that are also a little dirty and just full of cruelty and just love to hate villains, you know? My little Jabba the Hutt laugh. Um, Grizzled old warriors, Geralt of Rivia, Witcher. I love that. The grizzled, hardened warrior with a heart of gold beneath that gruff exterior. That's a nice one. The archetypical knight, the Galahad, the Sir Galahad, the handsome, upright, pure embodiment of knighthood. Some people find this trope a little sanctimonious. I don't. I think it works particularly well when the world is not like this young knight and he's got to battle it but keep his principles. And that brings us to benevolent nobles, the opposite of the evil noble, the ones who rule justly, your House Stark, your House Atreides, your House Tullys, your royal family of Hyrule, etc. A family that is fair and just and it's good under their rule. Which did happen in history from time to time. That did happen sometimes. In the Dark Lord archetype, your Saurons, your Emperor Palpatines, your so on and so forth. I really love this trope. Especially if someone was to do this trope, but the evil empire, or the hordes of Mordor, or the equivalent thereof, didn't have a dark aesthetic. If you had an evil magician trying to conquer the world, but they have a bright, colourful aesthetic, that would be fun, I think. Which brings me to my next archetype, the truly beautiful princess. That is, she is beautiful without hyper. She's gorgeous to look at, hyper feminine, but also very kind and gentle and loving and devoted to doing the right thing. Your Princess Zeldas, if you like. And the hot, sexy, badass woman. She's wild. She's a force of nature. Like Belit from the Conehan story, Queen of the Black Coast. Or your Shiara Sea Stars from the Duncan Egg stories. That's another good one. And more tropes. Gods and goddesses. I love gods and goddesses in my fantasy. A touch of the divine. A magical warrior organization. Your Jedi Knights. Your Knights Radiant, etc. The Good Kingdom. This expands on, or the Good Fiefdom, or Good Lordship. This expands on what I said earlier about the good noble, the benevolent noble. They run a land that's free and prosperous and everything's great. I love that trope. Your Kingdom of Hyrule, your Winterfell in the north, your, to some extent, Alethkar under the Kolins. Love that trope. And court intrigue. I like machinations in a royal or a noble court. That's always fun. And I also like eye and hair color that's not common in our world, being common in this fantasy world. Like, you know what I mean? The Valerians, Song of Ice and Fire with their silver hair and purple eyes. I love that. And classic fairy tale romance. I love that trope as well. That one's pretty self-explanatory. You know what that means. And another trope I love is the decadent and beautiful, highly cultured, but evil, corrupt, and sadistic culture. Your Valerians, your in A Song of Ice and Fire, the Malniboneans in Elric of Malnibone, um, the sexy vampire cultures you get in so many fantasies. I love that. And last but not least, stories that take you completely out of reality. The story is completely removed from the concerns of today's world. Those are the best kinds, pure escapism. So I hope you enjoyed my little tropes I love the most in fantasy. Have a wonderful day, all.